Hello friends, welcome to my channel Sushant Chess Wise. Today we are going to discuss about early pin in the opening. Okay, let's see what can cause an early pin. See, generally these games what we are going to see is the black's bishop on c8 is developed early and that bishop tries to create a pin. Usually what happens while developing the pieces, we should try to develop the knight and the kingside bishop first. So we will see what happens in the game. e4, e5, white plays the obvious move knight f3, development with attack on the pawn. Now black has here two ways to support the pawn. One is knight c6, knight is developed and it protects the pawn. We discussed the move f6, which is an outright blunder, and the second correct move is d6. This move is considered bad because it blocks the f8 bishop, but the move is in reality not a very bad one. It's perfectly playable. It's called the Philidor defense. Black plans to play the knight to f6, bishop to e7 and castle. Okay, that is his idea. Now here white can do two things. One he can do is just continue to develop normally. After the knight, he develops the bishop to c4 and attacks the f7 pawn. We already know that this f7 pawn is the weakest pawn because it is supported only by the king. Okay, now here black can play many moves. Knight c6 can be played, which is absolutely right. We will look at that later on. In this game, black played the move bishop g4. So this is what we are talking about when we discuss about early pin. Many a times player tend to develop this bishop early on g4. It looks like a very good idea because it pins the knight. Okay, and we see that this knight is unable to move. Okay, there are two problems with this bishop move. One, it is the development of bishop before a knight. So what can happen? This bishop can get attacked by the move h3, which is one good idea. Second, this bishop we can see is unsupported right now. No piece is supporting the bishop, so that creates the possibility of a loose piece, the piece which is unsupported, especially the bishop. So we will be discussing the concept of loose piece in much more detail later on. So now let's see what white can do. White has many things. White can either play castle, okay, or he can just develop by nc3, or he can play the move h3. White decides to develop the piece by nc3. This happens to be a good move and it has an idea as well. Now black had to play here either the move nf6 to develop and protect this bishop, okay, or he had to play the move nc6 here, which will also support the e5 pawn and develop the piece. But in the game, black played the move g6. Okay, it's not clear what's the idea behind this move. Okay, maybe black wants to play the bishop to h6. Okay, or he wanted to play the bishop to g7. But this move doesn't develop anything. So this game basically is a built up of two things. One, we are learning how to exploit this early pin. Okay, and second, we are going to learn how to use your extra development. So white has three developments here, black has only one. So whenever there is difference of two developments or more, there is possibility of tactics. Okay, so here white sees that the f7 pawn is weak, this knight wants to move, but if the knight moves, then bishop takes the queen. Why this knight wants to move? Because when the knight moves, queen will bring attack on the bishop. So what he can do here is, he makes a very nice combination. Knight takes the pawn. Now it looks like the queen is sacrificed. It is given for free. Okay. Let's look at two lines here. If pawn takes the knight, then simply queen takes the bishop. And white already has three developments plus he has won a pawn for free. He took knight into pawn, there he got a pawn, and he took the bishop in return for free. Okay. So he has become a pawn and white is winning here. And the second move which actually happened in the game was after the move knight into e5, black played bishop into d1, falling into white's trap. Now white took bishop into f7 check, king comes to e7 and the knight goes to d5. Now we see that the king was brought out and the idea of knight c3 is very clear. The knight wanted to go to d5, give check, king has no place to move and it has become a checkmate. So this is one problem of having a loose piece, okay, early in the opening. So the c8 bishop, especially coming to g4 early and keeping all other pieces undeveloped, is a big problem. We will look at one more example of, let's look at the second example now. This is also very similar. Let's get started. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight attacks the pawn. Black played and c6 in the game. This position we can reach by the move d6 also. White played bishop to c4 and now here black played the bad move, he played d6. Okay, this time we can say the d6 move is somewhat inferior, although black can continue still b7 and f6 castle. Okay, now white has again 2-3 options. He can play d3, he can play castle and he can play knight c3. But as we have been discussing, castling immediately is not advisable. Maybe the bishop g4 pin can cause more problems in that case. So white plays the move nc3, simply developing the knight and attacking the d5 square. We just now saw in the previous example, knight can become quite annoying and dangerous from d5. Black again goes for the move with g4. Now we see a major difference. In the last example, in same position, instead of knight c6, the pawn was on g6 and white was able to play knight e5. But here we note that knight e5 is simply a blunder because black will not take bishop into d1, but black will just take knight into e5 and this knight supports the bishop and also attacks this bishop. So white has just lost the piece for free. Okay, so now let's see what can white do. So this early pin can be exploited in two ways. One, we move the knight and create a discovered attack. Okay. Second, we make a sacrifice, bishop into pawn sacrifice, check we do. Okay, and then this knight moves with a check. This is the second way. Knight moves with a check and queen takes the bishop. This is one more way. But here we see that even that will fail because king into bishop, knight comes to g5 and simply queen takes the knight over here. So that will also not do. So generally we see these two ways. But here there is one more third way. White can attack the bishop with the move h3. Now what he is doing, this way is not very forceful. So that is why people always discuss the previous two ways which I told you. Now if bishop takes f3, then after queen f3, white has a very good game. Okay, the queen and bishop both attack f7. Okay, and now after the move knight f6, white can simply play, he can either play knight d5 or bb5 or he can even play the move d3. Okay, this is not like the scholars made thing because already black has given up this c8 bishop. Okay, so in the game, black played the move bh5. At any rate, bf3 was better move than bh5. Now white exploits the fact that this bishop is not unsupported when the knight comes to e5. So white plays knight into e5. Now see, if bishop takes d1, we will have the same weight as the previous line. Bishop takes f7 check, king goes to e7 and knight d5 mate. So white wins here. And in the other variation, after the move knight e5, this time we see that the bishop on h5 is unsupported. So queen takes h5 and now black thought that he is getting the bishop on c4, but white had seen further. So now comes queen check from b5 and this is a double attack. Queen gives check, queen attacks the knight, queen attacks the pawn on b7 also. And after qd7, white simply do queen into knight. He has got an extra pawn, better development, and white won this game very easily. Now in the upcoming lectures I will show you how to win with an extra pawn. We will be discussing bit about the endgames. I hope you understood these examples. Do like, share and subscribe the channel. Thanks for your time.